I'm really almost disappointed this wasn't added in the anime. I think this would have served as a really good Taisho secret. Hello there, my fandom friends! Today I am going to be breaking down the similarities and differences between the anime and the manga for episode 7 of Hashira Training Arc of Demon Slayer. So we are going to be talking about manga 16 and kind of just how it compares similarities and differences. I have been making kind of breakdown videos like this for every single episode of the Hashira Training Arc so far, so if you're interested you can go back and watch those. And kind of the reason why I'm doing this is just so if people aren't reading the manga, they know kind of like what content is being added into the anime, why it's important, why this isn't just a training arc, is what people are saying. If people are thinking that it's a little slow or a little boring, I'm here to kind of reassure everyone that there is reason for everything that's being added and shown in this season. And that is why I will be breaking down the manga according to what we saw in episode 7. And so before we kind of start in the breakdown, I wanted to also quickly mention that I am doing a cosplay Hashira challenge. So basically I will be cosplaying all 9 Hashira and all of you will be voting for who you want to see me cosplay next. So round 1 is already done. I am cosplaying Obanai, he was the winner. Round 2 is gonna be going on sometime soon and it's looking like Giyu or Rengoku are gonna be the winners, and then we'll move on from there. So if you want to hear more information about that or would like to cast your votes, feel free to click this video up top. Alright, so jumping into the manga for episode 7, we are kind of halfway through chapter 135 when we start the episode, and then we make our way all the way through chapter 136. So as we can see, the pacing is definitely getting faster the more we're getting into the season. This anime episode basically followed the manga very closely. There is a couple different things that I would like to point out. One of them is extremely important that I wish was in the anime, that's actually in the manga and plays a significant role, so we'll get to that later. But we're going to start off by the beginning of the episode where we see Zenitsu's sparrow flying with what looks like a piece of paper, and then we go into kind of a recap of Tanjiro moving the boulder, and then we see that Inosuke is moving the boulder and Zenitsu is kind of off to the side, kind of feeling down on himself because he's the only one left. All of this part was the exact same in the manga compared to the anime, except Chuntaro, Zenitsu's sparrow, was just like pecking his foot. That was just a little added detail that was comedic. Next, we see this dehydrated form of Tanjiro after he moves the boulder, and Guillaume is the one to come in and rescue him with some water. This was the exact same as the manga as well. And I really loved what Guillaume had to say to Tanjiro in this scene. He really acknowledged everything and took a very mature approach to this. He is very much unlike all of the other Hashira that kind of were very just like quick to think about things, I guess. So like Obanai and Sanemi in the beginning versus like maybe Giyu, who automatically just respect and showed a different side than most Hashira. Guillaume, there's actually like reasons behind it, and I like how he explained that to Tanjiro. This was of course all in the manga. One little thing that was a little different here was when Tanjiro went still and they kind of had like that screenshot of him. It said like obstinate and flexible boy. In the manga it said hard-headed boy. So I mean, take your pick, both of them are great. We then move into Guillaume's backstory. His backstory actually took up about 6-ish pages in the manga, so his was pretty fleshed out in the manga compared to maybe some other things that didn't get a bunch of time. And so in the anime, we actually get to see a lot more of the backstory, a lot more details, a lot more of kind of just building up the background, the scenery, the landscape, more shots of characters. We can see faces more clearly. There's a couple added scenes. And so right off the bat, we get a mini scene of the little 4-year-old girl, Seo, I think is what her name was, if I'm saying that correctly, but she's offering Guillaume her food. We get to see kind of all the kids' interactions with that, a little bit more conversation than what was in the manga. We get to see a lot more of young looking Guillaume, which I loved, because in the manga, it's very kind of hard to see what young Guillaume looks like. It always would like blank out his face or show him from the back or the side, where you're not truly getting to see his whole, you know, everything, his whole features and everything. So I really appreciated getting to see that, because we've seen that with all the other Hashira, so why not Gyome? I really loved how the anime went deeper and showed the exact point when Gyome got his forehead scar. So in the manga, it's just hard with panels when it's drawing to drawing. It's not there and then it's there, and you don't really get to see the motion of it happening. And so in the anime, I think they did a really nice job of showing what that demon did to his forehead. Okay, so this next part is really interesting, and compared to the manga, it's slightly different, but then they actually didn't add something into the anime that I wish they would have. So I actually wrote some of this down so I could read off a couple quotes from the manga compared to the anime. So it's the scene when, after the demon has attacked Gyome's place, and Seo, the little girl, is calling him a monster. Now in the anime, she says he's a monster, he's the one who killed everyone. In the manga, she says that man is a monster, everyone, he killed everyone. So they're talking about the same thing, but in a slightly different way. It's just a changing of the words. Now, when I read this in the manga, I kind of thought, well, Seo is definitely talking about the demon by when she says that man. She's literally 4 years old. She's a child. She doesn't quite understand what's going on. And I think that in the anime, the wording of it got just a little flipped differently that made me think she was kind of just talking about Gyome. Now this could just be my opinion. My friends that I was watching it with, they also kind of said the same thing. But something that was more clear in the manga was there was actually a page off to the side after Gyome's backstory. It was a blank page with a drawing of Seo, and it says Seo's story. It basically explains that she was not talking about Gyome when she said that man or that monster. She was actually talking about the demon, but of course, being 4 years old, she just couldn't get that across. She was in a state of shock. And also in this little note on the page, it says that she goes about her life now and she wishes that she could apologize to Gyome for what she did and how it came across. She realized what she had done and what that caused Gyome down the road when he was almost about to be executed. I'm really almost disappointed this wasn't added in the anime. I think this would have served as a really good Taisho secret. I do understand that Gyome is not supposed to know that Seo is still alive out there and kind of her thoughts about this, because he's still very much in the realm of thinking that she was talking about him. And all of these years have passed and he still thinks about her, but he doesn't know the truth. So like, I understand like why would that be a Taisho secret, because it's kind of just left open in the air. And so maybe that's just an Easter egg that can stay in the manga, but I did want to point that out because I do think that that part is very sweet and wholesome. I'm not going to be really explaining my thoughts too much in this because I do want to keep this to similarities and differences, but can I just say I love Gyome so much more now. I have been waiting to see this backstory animated for so long now, and Gyome's always been kind of in the lower ranks when I'm ranking Hashira from favorite to least favorite. It's not that I hate him or anything, it's just that I felt like he had like a really short backstory and I wanted more and more like emotion, and I think that the anime really drove that out for me. Gyome is just so incredibly different than the other Hashira. The way that he thinks, his mentality and his emotions and empathy that he has. And I think I do relate to him quite a bit because he actually has the same personality type as me. So he actually has gone up the rankings a little bit for me when I'm ranking my Hashira in, you know, from my own opinion. This part was in the manga, just like it was in the anime, but it can be easily overlooked because the panel for it is super small. But it's just the scene when Gyome is patting Tanjiro's head and then it filters into young Gyome patting the little girl's head. And it's just so darn sweet. but it's also so emotional. Like my friends and I, when we were watching it, we were just like, oh my, stop. Like, this is so cute, it's too much. We are now ending chapter 135 in the manga and jumping into chapter 136. We move into the scene of Genya, Inosuke, and Tanjiro around the fire indoors as they're eating their fish that Tanjiro had cooked for everyone. This scene was literally the same as the manga, the whole fighting between Genya and Inosuke, Tanjiro then sitting on Inosuke to make him stop. The only thing that was slightly different was Inosuke trying to eat Zenitsu's food and then Tanjiro saying, no, that's his, like, you can't do that. And Inosuke is like, you're just too kind to people, like you're always looking out for people. And again, we have that Tanjiro effect that we have been seeing throughout the whole show, of course, and the whole story, but I feel like more so in the Hashira training with the other trainees, now with his friends, and so of course we're seeing that yet again. We jump into the scene of Tanjiro looking for Zenitsu because he hadn't eaten his fish, and this part was the exact same as the manga. We are seeing a different version of Zenitsu now. We know that he has gotten some kind of letter that Chuntaro has brought to him from the beginning of the episode, and we see a very much more mature version of Zenitsu, which I loved seeing. He's calmed down. Tanjiro's walk to Gyu's place was the same in the manga, although so much more beautiful in the anime. I think when my friends and I were watching this, I was like, dang, that is gorgeous. The fight between Sanemi and Gyu was about the same as the manga. We just got a couple more breathing forms shown in the anime. We got, of course, just more visuals to show more of a more fluent flow of their fighting style. Now, this is just a tidbit if you were paying attention to the Japanese in this episode. So they say ohagi, but in the subtitles in English, it actually says red bean mochi. And in the book, they say ohagi, and then they have like a little thing at the bottom that says like ohagi is like a sweet treat in Japan. And so they just did this like slightly different, but it basically means the same thing. We have a scene of Gyu and Tanjiro. This was the exact same in the manga, so not too much to add here, although it was just so cute seeing in color and the animation style. Of course, Gyu's little smile was just so darn cute. And then we jump into Sanemi. Now, this part was about the same in the manga, but we get it expanded quite a bit with the dialogue, so I'm going to be kind of breaking that down here. In the anime, of course, Sanemi is mentioning Obanai and Muitsuro when they were training together, so of course this just is bringing things full circle since we introduced that they have been having kind of their own Hashira training off to the side, so of course it makes sense that Sanemi is referencing this. Again, this scene was just absolutely gorgeous with the staircases and the scenery around Sanemi, the angles of it from like down low and then swooping in above and below. Like, I was just eating up the animation. Amazing as always. And then we get a little bit of Sanemi complaining about Tanjiro. This didn't really happen in the manga. He was just walking, and we get to the part when he crushes the eye, of course, but we'll get to that in a second. But in the anime, it was just really funny because Sanemi was just nonstop talking about how much he hated Tanjiro and like yelling about it. Like, he's so mad. So the most important difference from the manga to the anime is actually how Sanemi reacts to Nakime's eyeball. Now, in the manga, we literally get like a couple panels of this. It's on his hand, he crushes it, and then he says, "What's this?" Now, in the anime, he says, "What the hell is this?" But then he realizes that they've been infiltrated. We see that the music just completely stops. Sanemi stops. He knows that there's something wrong. And we actually get a little clip of the eye jumping at his back. Now, I think that the eyeball did this on purpose. This, of course, was not in the manga, just because how could that be depicted? But after thinking about it a bit more and talking with my friends, we kind of came to the conclusion that the eyeball from Nakime, as we know, probably alerted him on purpose to kind of cause some kind of chaos and disorder. They kind of want the Hashira to know that Muzan is there because Muzan wants to wipe out everyone. So for that eyeball to go directly at Sanemi being super obvious about jumping at his back, of course that eyeball can't really do anything either from what we've seen it literally just spies on people. And so that's what we were kind of thinking about that. Also, Sanemi's words in the anime were so much better than the manga. We realized that Sanemi is understanding that there's something wrong. Once that eyeball disintegrates in his hand, he looks at it and it's kind of this shock that, oh my gosh, that there's demons here. There's gotta be, like, we've been infiltrated. Now in the manga, it wasn't so urgent at all. He just said, what's this? And then we didn't know what happened until a little bit later. But I like that sense of urgency that Sanemi had in the anime. I think that that makes so much more sense that he is having this panic. Why wouldn't he? We are at the point in the video that you've been waiting for. Maybe you even skipped to this part in the video because you wanted to hear me talk about it. But Muzan showing up at the Hashira hideout to Kaguya. Now this part was so different than the manga. Of course, obviously he's coming, so that's the same, but they added so much more and I'm about to talk about it. Before I jump into this Muzan scene, I just wanted to say that I had texted a few friends my prediction for how episode 7 was going to end before we watched the episode. And I pop a screenshot of this on the screen, but I basically told one of my friends, I think it's gonna end with Muzan showing up right after Sanemi crushes the eyeball. Now, yes, I was correct. And yes, I have a reaction video of this happening because I had to record this last little bit and I got my reaction on video. So I was so happy about that. You can see my excitement. I'll play that here in a sec, but oh my gosh, like I was just so happy and I'm just so glad we got so much more content of Muzan. So let's get into my reaction and then a little bit of a talk about this whole Muzan scene. So in the manga, literally all it shows is like a couple shots of Kaguya and Amane. It shows Muzan's feet, and then it just goes directly to Muzan just standing in front of Kaguya. That's literally all we get. Whereas in the anime, we get like 5 minutes of him like walking through. We get amazingly beautiful animation. Again, a huge shout out to everyone, the creators of this episode of Demon Slayer. Everything, like this art style and this animation is just top tier beautiful, as it always is. But that's literally all we get in the manga. And so for them to extend this part throughout like 5 minutes was incredible. The attention to detail was amazing. The moon disappearing, the red of his eyes slowly coming into focus, the slow motion mixed with the kind of flashes of red that we got, the reflection of him in the water toward the end of his arrival. So much happened in that 5 minutes that it had me and my friends just on the edge of our seat the whole time. It was so good. I really loved how much it related back to the credits. A couple weeks ago, I think now, I made a breakdown video of the credits. And if you want to go check that out, I will link it up here. But basically, I'm breaking down all of the kind of symbolic things in it, things that there's resemblance for, and things that I talked about was that this is Muzan going to his ultimate goal of trying to break into the Hashira because that's where he thinks Nezuko is. His goal is Nezuko taking down Ubuyashiki and the Hashira. So this was really cool the way they blended it all together. And this is where we end chapter 136 in the manga, and the next episode will start with chapter 137. Related to this whole Muzan scene, I have a theory video about that kind of fog that was surrounding Muzan, and I have a pretty crazy theory about that. And that video I actually just posted, so if you want to just backtrack one. And then the video before that is actually a theory that I have about the tree kind of structure that we see in the credits and what that symbolizes. I finally figured it out, at least I think I did. I have a pretty good theory, so if you wanted to check out those theory videos, if you wanted to check out my other breakdown videos of all the other Hashira episodes, I have it all basically within the past couple weeks. Anyway, that is going to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of the similarities and differences between episode 7 and manga 16. We are in for a treat next week for the finale. While I'm filming this, it's actually coming out tomorrow morning. So I'm so excited. I will probably have a couple more videos coming out to wrap up this Hashira training once that final episode is out. So feel free to check out that once I have those videos out. And I hope you enjoyed, and feel free to let me know your own thoughts and comments down below. And I will see you next time. Bye!